Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour. And today is Friday, October 22nd, 2021. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered. These tools are available absolutely free on the website at whyagain.org. If you go to that website and click on the Start Here link in the upper left-hand corner, it will take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Rice's book. His book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And that chapter of the book contains a narrative description of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet. And it's a tool I've been using to great effect for over 17 years to improve the quality of my life and my relationships and turn any negative emotional experience into part of the infallible guidance system that each one of us has been given. You can also download the actual worksheet process itself. It's a simple PDF file. Click the link, download it, print it off, and use it as often as you'd like. You can also go to your app store and type in the three words Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness, and you can get access to a completely free and private app that contains the Reality Management Worksheet, an abbreviated version of that worksheet process, and a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. There are also a host of audio files that you can download and listen to that will serve as a tutorial for you to learn how to apply this powerful tool in all of its magnificent simplicity in a variety of situations in your life. We hope people do that soon and often because it frequently leads to comments and questions. If you have those, give us a call at 563-999-3581 and press 1, and it'll put a question mark by your phone number, and I'll announce you by your area code. We're also doing the Course in Miracles workbook lessons this year. Today is the 295th day of the year, and today's lesson simply reads, The Holy Spirit looks through me today. The commentary reads, Christ asks that he may use my eyes today and thus redeem the world. He asks this gift that he may offer peace of mind to me and in the process take away all terror and all pain. And as they are removed from me, the dreams that seem to settle on the world are all of a sudden gone. Redemption must be won. As I am saved, the world is saved with me. For all of us must be redeemed together. Fear appears in many forms, yet love is but one. My Father, the Christ mind has asked a gift of me, and one that I give, that it be given back to me. Help me to use the eyes of Christ today, and thus allow the Holy Spirit and its love to bless all things which I may look upon, and his forgiving love may rest on me. Pam Grout has the Course in Miracles experiment book, and that book lesson titled 295 is titled Donning My Holy Shades. She quotes the Course in Miracles when it says, Let go all the trivial things that churn and bubble on the surface of your mind. Pam writes, The Shermans, our neighbors, when I was growing up, had 3 rambunctious boys. Their constant poking and prodding bore a striking resemblance to the antics of the Three Stooges. Whenever the Shermans dared appear in public, let's say in church or at a movie theater, the parents strategically seated one son on the outside, a parent in between, the next son, the other parent, and the last son on the other side. This seating chart saved a lot of problems. I've discovered 2 words that, like the Sherman boys, are better behaved when separated. These words are I and know, K-N-O-W. When uttered together, the door of further investigation slams shut. These two words are sneaky because isn't that why we were sent to school? Aren't we supposed to know stuff? This lesson reminds us there are more sides to every story. When I and know sit together, an unbelievably powerful force is locked into a tiny little box. When I'm convinced and therefore attached to such stories as, quote, the world is skidding to disaster, close quote, or, quote, so-and-so is such an a-hole, close quote, or, quote, I'm just not good at, insert your own personal nightmare here, close quotes. When that happens, I basically thwart the field of infinite potentiality in its hell-raising anything-goes tracks. Lesson 295, the Spirit looks through me today, asks me to use different eyes today to refrain from putting the dude or the creation in handcuffs. It tells me that whatever, quote, I know, close quotes, pales in comparison to what's possible when I see it through the eyes of love. So today, look through the eyes of love at everything and everyone you interact with. And as usual, we've got about 50 minutes left to have a conversation. 563-999-3581. Call that number, press 1, and enlighten us. How would it be useful for us to spend this time today? What's a topic that you'd like to have us go over? What's a question you might have about the worksheet process? 563-999-3581. This week has basically been a week of monologues by me, so we are open and inviting anyone to either suggest a topic or ask a question or refute the usefulness of these tools in preparation for today's podcast. I was going through the Anthony DeMello book, Taking Flight, a book of story meditations. But first, fan mail from some flounder. Area code 520, you're in the air. Who do we have?
Hello. Hello.
Who do we have?
Audrey.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Can you speak up?
Audrey. Can you hear me?
Audrey. All right. Your voice is very quiet. I wasn't expecting to hear you because it's been so long. How are you, Audrey?
Well, I'm coming along, but I have a situation that I'd like help with. And
all right. And if you can talk directly into the phone, I will try to help you with that.
Okay. Is this any better?
That is better.
Okay, because it's my cell phone. Apologize for my list, which is worse because when I had my operation and they took the intubation tube out, so did my front tooth come out. So I went in with one problem and I came out with one problem. The situation I'm dealing with is about letting go. Okay? I have to set this up on what's going on. I live in a senior park, and I have girlfriends. One girlfriend's husband is divorcing her and going out with the other girlfriend. Now, I was in my house, laying on the couch, And my one girlfriend came over to visit me. She stayed 10 minutes and left. The other girlfriend, which was right next door, saw that the first one come in. And she came she didn't knock or anything, and she came through the door, and she started screaming at me and carrying on because I'm friends with both of them. And then she said, then she left, and then she was texting, all this vile language, texting until I finally realized, wait a minute, I could block this. Letting go is, I want to let go of the anger that I feel for the one that was sending me all this vile information and yelling at me. And I want to let it easy for me to say, okay, the process is choose. Just choose to let it go. I haven't been able to yet. So
okay. All right. So let me offer this much to you. There's a few things here that we come to on a regular basis with this work, and one of them is whenever there's anger coming out of a person, it means, whoever that person is, it means that there's pain, fear, or sadness inside that person. And this will only, always, and forever be the case with human beings. So when you have trouble letting go of the anger, it means there's pain, fear, or sadness in you. When you were experiencing anger from somebody else, it means there was pain, fear, or sadness in that person. So that's where I would begin. In this work, the primary tool is the reality management worksheet. And so if you take it out and you start saying, I, Audrey, who am love, am feeling anger, and you work through that worksheet, you're going to get one level of information and revelation about your own internal processing. However, to facilitate that process, you might want to say, all right, let me just take a breath. I'm feeling all this anger. I wonder, since I know that there's always pain, fear, or sadness underneath anger, I wonder which of those three, pain, fear, or sadness, is more strongly resonant for me right now. And then when I decide which one it is, maybe I'm afraid that this person who sends all of this nasty stuff and vitriol is going to take action and attack me in person or turn my other friends against me or whatever the fear might be. Maybe when I start doing the worksheets on that process related to fear, it'll resolve quicker. Maybe it's sadness. Maybe I'm trying to avoid, with the energy of anger, I'm trying to avoid the sadness of realizing that this friendship is lost. Because anybody who could send me that level of angry, bitter messaging is not someone that I can maintain a friendship with. So that's the first thing I would suggest is when you go to do worksheets on this, look at the deeper underlying issue. Is it pain or fear or sadness, which will always be there whenever anybody has anger.
Okay.
And the other thing that comes to mind, if that doesn't help you work on it, is Dr. Michael Rice has this, it's a release technique that he steps people through where you imagine the center point in your brain and you create a little open space there or a little altar, and then you hold an image of this friend that you have the anger towards or who had so much anger being expressed towards you, and then you clear your mind, take a few deep breaths, put the focus of your attention there in that center spot of your brain with the image of the person, and then simply ask, out loud, ask Holy Spirit, or Ruka Dakucha to help you release whatever attachment you have to that person. And then just take a few deep breaths and repeat that 2 or 3 times. Please help me release the attachment I have to this person. And then notice whatever you notice. Is there energy moving in your body? Do you feel trembling? Do you feel hot, cold, light, dark, anyway? And that release practice is extremely valuable to a lot of people. So those are the 2 things that come to mind to share with you.
Okay. All right. I'll do the inner work. And what we learn by contrast. Why is there contrast in this world?
Well, I think that when you ask a question like that, what pops into my mind is that this trying to figure it out is one of our biggest traps as people. So when you ask, why is this happening to me again, not only are you replaying the title of Dr. Michael Rice's book, but if you stay in that, why is this happening, I want to figure this out, you're going to stay trapped. And whatever your conscious logical mind can come up with, it won't be anything as valuable as what insight, intuition, applying a tool to dig at, what is the pain or the fear or sadness in you that's blocking you from just holding compassion for your friend. Yes, the friend that just sent you all of that nasty stuff. Why? Well, because you identified that she's been a friend, and if she's throwing a lot of anger and insult and nastiness at you, that means she's in considerable amount of pain, fear, or sadness.
Yes.
And if you have a friend and you see them in pain, fear, and sadness, what normally gets generated in us is compassion.
Mm-hmm.
So then the process of work, the process of work in this field, this body of work that we have and do, whether it's Guy Finley's work or Dale Allen Hoffman's or Michael Rice's work, is to uncover what is preventing me from having the experience of this compassion, loving, open energy toward my friend. And you can say, well, because she did this and she did that and she said this nasty thing and she insulted me. And I back up and say, okay, but when we understand that when insults and anger and swear words come out of somebody, what that means is that they are in pain, fear, or sadness. And if I understand that I have a friend who shows up in pain, fear, and sadness, the natural response to that is compassion. So if something's blocking me from having that compassion, I want to do my work to identify it and dismantle it from within my mind, body, energy system.
Yes. And as you were talking, I realized, oh my, because she likes to drink. She's an alcoholic. And more times when you see her, she is sober, and she is less sober than she's drunk. And my father was an alcoholic. And I grew up with all those nasty words. I mean, I kind of knew words a sailor knew when I was 3 years old. And the text contained a lot of those words. And now I realize this is a lot more, it's deeper than just being angry at her.
Right.
This is really deep. Yeah.
Right. This is stirring up traumatic energy, negative beliefs about yourself, memories, wishes for a different kind of relationship with your father, etc., that are getting resonated in you when she is acting this way.
Right.
And so again, all of this work,
yeah.
the core of this work is about me, every time I have a negative emotion, stepping into 100% responsibility for what I'm creating inside of me, which is my emotions. And when I do that, and I start applying the tools, what we see over and over again in this work, people that use these tools, is my life starts to get better and better and better. But as long as I'm focused on the other person and what he or she said or did, and all of my knowledge about how that's bad, that's wrong, that's not loving, that's not the way you should relate to somebody, as long as all of that mind energy in me is focused on the outside, I stay locked and stuck, literally in the prison that's created by my staying focused on somebody else rather than doing my own work internally.
Yeah. And the solution, and I reenact the same dynamics of the anger, the fear, the non-love, and the solution is reenacting or working the worksheet. And it's a case of undoing the illusion of the fear and the anger and dismantling it. So now I know I have to do work. Thank you.
You're
That's the
entirely
only way
welcome.
to do it is to
and
do it.
Deserving.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and you just had a great, connection between this process that's going on with this friend and your history with your family and your father,
yes.
and how that might once again prove as a more efficient series of worksheets as it resonates thoughts about your father. Instead of doing worksheets on her and what she said and did, perhaps you just do some on the memories and any associated negative emotions that come easily to mind when you think about your dad.
Right. And when we're not in a body form anymore, but since we all are just awareness and it's energy, but when we're not in a physical body, does those memories still stay with us?
You mean the memories of what we did?
I mean
in
the illusion,
our physical world?
Illusional Excuse me?
You mean the memories of what we did in the physical form? Like yelling at our children or yelling at my spouse or being a drunkard? Are you saying, do those memories stay with me?
Yes.
I don't know, but some of the best energies, consciousness, teachers that I've heard talk about it, people like Abraham Hicks and Gangaji and Papaji and things like that, they support the concept that if we do remember it, we have that memory at the same time we have the awareness that it's not important in the big picture, and that all that's truly important is the energetic connection that some would call love, the energy of creation, etc. That kind of stuff. He said, she said, they spanked me, he cheated on me with this other woman, or whatever, that all of that stuff that we load into our minds as humans, when we're no longer in the body, we're free to see that that's just soap opera dramas, and that has nothing to do with the flow of life and creation and why we're really here to extend love, to experience love, to be a part of the flow of life, etc.
Well, thank you very much. Wonderful talking with you, and I'm so glad that this program is here so that when a need arises within me, I have the choice of picking up the phone and calling and expressing what was bothering me. And so now I can work on my answers and have more insight into myself.
Well, you're entirely welcome and deserving. I'm glad it was useful, and it's good to hear your voice after all this time. You sound good. I hope you're feeling good. And
yes.
I'll mute you so you can listen to the rest of the show.
Thank you. Blessings
Blessings.
and peace.
So we've got about 30 minutes left. And Susan, welcome.
Hi, Dr. Tim.
Welcome back.
Good. Thanks. Good comments for Audrey. I'm glad you could hear her well enough. It was a struggle, but it was very good. I wanted to give a report and maybe get some insight on what has happened with my grandson, Jake. After a week of having him live with us, we realized that we were in over our head. I had one incident where actually I had lent our ACIM to a friend, and Michael suggested that Jacob use the ACIM, and so I called my friend and I said, let's go get this machine. Come on with me. He drives with me. We get it. He's very polite to her, very personable, gets in the car, turns to me and says, "You led me on." I said, "Wow." He said, "I thought this was a drug run. I thought you were taking me to get some LSD, or I forget what it was he wanted. He takes mushrooms and LSD and all sorts of things." And there was a little envelope connected to the ACIM in which I had put one of the little gloves you use. He thought that envelope had the drugs in it. He tore open the envelope, and when he saw it was just a plastic glove, he stuffed the envelope in his mouth and the glove and started eating them, which showed me how addicted he is and desperate he was to get a fix. And I realized that Tim and I just can't offer him the kind of support and protection that he needed. So I spent a couple of days researching places and found a place in California that takes young people. They have only 5 people in the program. It's residential, minimum stay time, 30 days, and it can go longer. They deal with addiction and mental health problems at the same time. I talked to several people who had been through their program, and they sounded like wonderful young people who had come out the other side and were living productive lives. And each of them were employees now of this. It's a network of centers. And we got it set up. I sent the website and the information to my daughter and her husband, who's a psychologist. Even though he's got tremendous problems, he's evidently an excellent therapist and psychologist, and he researched the program and said it sounded really good. In one day's time, they had gotten a ticket from him, and I took him to Philadelphia, and he made it through a stopover in Minneapolis. We were all afraid he wouldn't be able to handle being on his own that much, but he did. He got himself all the way to California, and he's in this program, and he calls. They're allowing him to have his phone. He calls us and says things like, "I'm bored. I hate going to groups, but I think I have to stay here, even though I really want to come home. They've got me in a room with somebody who snores when he's sleeping, and when he's not, he's playing music and shining a flashlight in my face." And his issue is anxiety and insomnia, among others. So we called and made a fuss and got him into another room with another roommate. And in any case, that's the report. My question is, I still have two different sets of people telling me two different things. We have the program, and they are medicating him with all kinds of things and assessing which work and which not. And their objective is to find out, to get his anxiety down to a level where they can work with him on other things. His anxiety is so bad that he literally shakes when he's just supposed to be sitting still, which makes it look like tremors, like detox tremors. So my daughter thinks he's been taking stuff all along, and I don't know. He swears that he hasn't taken anything for 6 weeks, and I haven't found anything, and if I looked, I probably wouldn't. If he's a real addict, he's probably hiding stuff. Anyway, I have the medical people approaching it from the drugs point of view, and then I have one friend who talks to me about what I talked to you about, pans and pandas. And she says, judging from what you've told me about Jacob, it really does sound as if he has PANS. And the longer you wait to get an intervention on that, the worse it gets, which is awfully scary to hear. So here I am just sitting here wondering how I can get palatable information to my son and daughter-in-law. All of them feel as if I'm, and my ex-son-in-law, they all are on the medical side, and they think the PANS stuff is BS. So I'm just in this dilemma, and I know you're going to remind me that it's my reaction to things that is what we work on here, that I can't fix anything, and I've been doing pretty darn well using the tools. But I wanted to give you an update and hear if you had any thoughts about it that would be helpful.
Well, you're right. I mean, you're the one who's on the phone asking me for support, and you're saying that you're feeling this negative emotion about whatever the outside target is. You're feeling that negative emotion inside yourself. And your thoughts are that
Right.
It's all about whether or not it's PANS or pandas or meds or nutrition or therapy that could help your grandson. And so one way or another, it's this pattern of thoughts you have focused around, are you able to help your grandson? And if you're generating negative emotions, regardless of the target of the thought, that's what we work on here.
Right.
And, there are all kinds of people who are out there working, and they're working on these things according to the best tools they have and in their own little silo of how they've been educated and the mentors that they resonated with or that they got lucky enough to be exposed to. And the fact of the matter is there are none of them that have the answer that works for everyone. And so this is especially for those of us who have friends or family who are having significant difficulty these days, this is a very big, messy pill to swallow. That the people, the experts, the doctors, the gurus, they don't have all the answers. And so, if I'm stuck having a lot of negative emotions about that, then I might need to do some worksheets around this big existential question. Can I be okay even if I have to live in a world that doesn't have pat answers? Can I learn to live in the question, in the uncertainty, and sometimes the chaos? 'Cause, 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 And there's a little bit of history here because you've done some worksheets on the show before, and what's probably happening is that old, deep, unpleasant emotions that you're carrying in you from times when your childhood was chaotic, when there were no pat answers, when there wasn't effective relief from the pain or the fear or the terror of your childhood, they're getting resonated by this. And so because of that, rather than being able to just do your meditation and do your prayer and then get centered, and then when you have some research that seems to offer some fruit to you, then just gently offer it to the family and get to the point where you can be okay even if they don't take your advice. Right? Because then you're focusing on what you have control over, which again is one of the biggest things we keep coming back to with this work is I can only take responsibility for the emotions I'm creating. I can only have some impact on the view of the world that I create inside myself. I can't get other people to talk nicely or follow the medical advice that I think is appropriate or give up the drugs that I think are hurting them, etc. And as I said, that's a big, hard pill for a lot of us to swallow. Go ahead. You feel like what?
It is. I wanted to say, I don't care how much this triggers stuff. I just want him better. Of course, what I'm saying is I have a goal, and it's not being met, and it seems urgent, and I have to be in a hurry. I have to do this yesterday. The fact that this friend who knows about PANS said twice, if you don't catch it early, it gets worse and worse. So a lot of old issues come right in front of my face, like needing to do everything fast. Get to safety as fast as you can. Run like gangbusters.
Right. Just like you did when you were a child, and there was trauma, there was panic, there was physical danger in the house, there was the thing we talked about with the air raid sirens at night with you and your sister, and the things in school about being taught how to duck and cover. To duck and cover in school, because if you see a flash, that means the atomic bomb has gone off, and so that's what I have to, because that's the only thing you can actually have any impact on. That's what I've got to direct you to, is that your sense of panic is not helping your grandson.
Oh, truly it isn't. Right, I know that.
If it was, I'd say, hey, go ahead and throw yourself on the hand grenade,
Yeah, right.
Spend your life to save your grandson. If it would save him, I'd say, I remember one of the worksheets we did where you said, no, I'm not worried about myself dying. I'm old, but I think our children are going to die a horrible death. Okay, so you're not worried about dying, and so, go ahead. But that's useless, because when you suffer like that, when you put yourself into that chaotic, panicky mindset, it doesn't help your grandson. If it would help him, I'd say, okay, I could understand that. I might choose to do that for my son or their child. So, if it could help, go right ahead if that's your choice.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. There are many prongs to this, too, like the the issue of trusting, you said the medical profession just doesn't know stuff. Well, that seems awfully dangerous. If I want to feel
that's
as
the state
if
of our world.
Yeah. Well, it's a microcosm right now with Jacob with this particular situation, but yes, that is the state of the world. I'd love to hear that working with him in the way they are doing out there, they're being very loving and considerate. And I'd love to believe that this could be the answer too. He doesn't have to get the cure from the PANS angle, that he could get the cure from here. And of course, nobody knows. So maybe he has to go through one whole protocol and then come out the other end either better or not better. And then maybe there'll be enough time, enough residual health that we could take the other path, and maybe my kids would listen. I don't know which one is right. I wish they would. These are goals. I hear them. They're all goals. I wish they would listen and consider everything. Why not turn over every single stone, even if it sounds crazy? But that isn't happening. So
Right.
yeah,
And
so keep.
So, well, no,
so
you don't have
back.
to, but you might, and listen to what you're saying here. If you step out of them, right, this specific, my children as adults dealing with their grandson, if I step out of that, just step back to the broader perspective. What are you talking about? You're talking about parents being flexible, being loving, being willing to just keep trying until something helps their children. Well, you were a child and you had parents that, from your view, didn't do that. And so that's a very powerful goal in you that's resonating all kinds of energies and negative beliefs about yourself that you downloaded when you were a child and your parents weren't pulling out all the stops and being completely open-minded and willing to try anything that would bring relief to their children.
I'd never thought of that, Dr. Tim.
So this is why that goal is so stuck in you.
Yeah, that really makes sense.
So you might work on some worksheets that have that stated very generally. My goal is that all parents would stay open-minded and try an endless array of things until they found what would bring loving relief to their children. And that could be a worksheet. My thought is these people are stuck, they're being closed-minded, and they're not doing what their child needs. And my goal is for all parents to stay open-minded and try an endless array of things until they find what brings their child relief. And the emotion in that, you might have one where it's frustration, another one where it's sadness, another one where it's a panicky anxiety. And so there's 3 different worksheets you could do.
At least. Yep. Yeah.
And the other thing is you could go at it with a reality management worksheet, or you could also go at it with a mind shifter, something to the effect of, it's safe and healing for me, and I love the challenge it presents me when parents are closed-minded about how to help their children.
Ew. Ooh, I don't like that one, Dr. Tim. Yep, that's a good one.
Well, how good it is would be determined by what gets stirred up as you start to journal about it.
Yeah.
And just let what you just said would be the first thing you write on the right side of the piece of paper. Oh, I don't like that one.
Right. Yeah.
So that's where I would direct you.
Okay.
And then all of the above, all of the other stuff we do in here, where we recognize that things are always going to work out far better than we fear. If you come to you can go back to the last few lessons that we've been doing with Course in Miracles, or you can just go to today's lesson.
It's wonderful.
And it's a little bit more directly stated with Pam Grout's work. The Holy Spirit looks through me today, and it asks me to use different eyes and to refrain from putting creation in handcuffs. It tells me that whatever I think I know pales in comparison to what's possible when I look at the world through the eyes of love. Right? So here's my grandson. I have no idea how this is part of what he needs to go through to learn the next lesson for his personal, physical, spiritual, mental, emotional growth. I don't know. I do know that if I go into panic, it's nowhere near as beneficial for him as if I stay in love. If I am able to do the gentle art of blessing and see him in his highest and best, and see his parents in their highest and best, even if I disagree with their approach, and I send that deeply heart-centered, loving energy towards all of them and myself, that's a far more useful application of my mind energy and my emotional energy than being in the panic, especially once I recognize that panic is probably from my childhood. I probably downloaded this dozens and dozens of times in my childhood.
It boils down to trusting, doesn't it? Just trusting the goodness of the universe. It doesn't have to, I don't have to be right. I don't have to know anything to have things work out for my grandson or anybody else.
That's one different perspective than being in panic and thinking you know what's right. That's the lesson from the Pam Grout work today. Every time I think, I know that this is Pam's and he would be better if they got treatment right away, and I know that guess what? If I have those two words right next to each other and I have any kind of hostility or fear in my energy system, chances are pretty good I don't know.
Right. Thanks, Dr. Tim. There's so much grasping going on. I can just see my hands tightening over this solution or that solution. You've just shown me a back door where I can back through that door and go away from the scene and not be condemning Jacob or anybody else by doing that.
Well, I hope that helps you back away from the intense negativity, because we know that, among other things, what we do know what we can observe directly over and over again is that when I pour negative emotional energy into this stuff, it only gets worse, not better.
Mm.
So I don't know for certain that everything is going to work out. But some of the best, some of the deepest, some of the most profound spiritual teachings over and over again tell me it is.
So at least we can allow not knowing if it's going to be all right and letting that be.
Yes, exactly.
I have a quick question. I know it's unrelated, but it might be related. You were talking about that time in our psychotherapeutic learnings where we went through advocating, expressing rage and anger, and how a textbook was adjusted to and a chapter taken out because that proved to be not the right way to go. So I'm wondering if that could apply. I was working with Mira the other day, and I had no way of knowing where we were going, and there has been a lot of stress building up about Jacob. But I ended up absolutely, totally just screaming, and I was astounded at the amount of energy that was there inside me, and she was too. And my question was two questions. I thought I had worked through all of that would inspire such an outburst, like primal scream way back when, reparenting, looking at trauma, expressing panic and rage and sadness in a loud way. And here I was doing all that again. And I wondered if it's a bad thing, like expressing rage. Is that just not a good way to deal with it? I know, Michael, and you too, when somebody starts crying, for instance, you say, breathe, breathe. You get the breathing going, and it can feel like an interruption of where we are, but maybe where we are isn't a good place to be and not a healing thing or a healthy thing to stay there for any length of time.
Well, we've been through this round and around. When you hear us say, breathe, you interpret that as us saying, stop crying. And that's not the intention, and that's not what most people, when they do this work consistently, what they experience is if you breathe, you keep the energy system that processes your emotions open, and you literally experience the emotions more fully and more deeply.
Yeah, I remember.
When you hold your breath, when you are choking it back, you lock it down. You don't feel it as directly. You don't give it voice and expression. You don't tell yourself it's okay for me to feel this. And so that's one clarification, is that the intention when we say keep your breath moving is to be able to stay with the emotion and its expression more, not cut it off. And the other thing I would say about your question related to what happened when you were working with Mira is if that erupts as a spontaneous expression, then that's what happens. That's fine. What we're talking about is somebody from the outside imposing a pattern or an exercise that says, here, do this to express your rage. Do it more. Get it out. Feed it. Fuel it. Because Essentially, what they've discovered with the research is that's all it does is it feeds and fuels the anger. It does not help resolve it. But if you're in the middle of a process with Mira or somebody else and you have this energy flow through you and it comes out, allow it. Just understand that if it's not being done because somebody told you to and it's not part of an exercise, it's just the flow of the moment. And then see what it has to offer you and continue your processing. I'm not going to say that's bad. You shouldn't scream like that. If you have that energy in you, here's the 15 commitments of conscious leadership. The third one is I commit to feeling my feelings all the way through, all the way to completion. Once they come, I locate them in my body, and then I move, I breathe, and I vocalize them so that they release all the way through. And as long as it didn't go on for half an hour or 40 minutes of screaming, if it was just a blast of this energy coming out of you and it got vocalized, it might be right in line with what some of the best teachers say to do. When it erupts in you, express it fully. And if you're like most people, within about 90 seconds to, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, it's going to pass.
Yeah,
the intensity will begin to fade.
I think the idea with the anger people is that if they have you start doing huffing and puffing to get the anger a generator going, they would say we only want to do that because the anger is in there anyway. They wouldn't say you're generating it fresh. This isn't already in you. I'm not arguing for this kind of therapy either, but I think that's what they were thinking, is that it's in there.
Yeah,
this is a way of helping you get it out.
That's right. That's what they were thinking. And depending upon how it's applied and the context, it might be really good for some people. But there is some research that very strongly validates, at least for Harville Hendricks and his people who've been studying this stuff, and they were studying it over the 20-year period that his book had been published and then republished in the 20th anniversary. Are encouraging people to say everything negative about their partner is really only fueling the anger. It's not resolving.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So I'm going to end it there so we can start the second hour. Thank you so much for the call. It's always a delight to hear from you. I hope something of what was said is useful, and that you check in again on Monday or Tuesday as you feel so moved to let us know how it's working.
Thank you, Dr. Tim. Thanks again, always.
We have an hour coming up of first hour of the Why Again workshop. I'll remind us all that we come from love. We're made of this stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. And we'll be back on Monday.